China's real estate company Vanke is the industry's weathervane. Many people believe that if Vanke goes bust, it'll be the end of real estate in China. For this reason, scandals about Vanke are shielded by the government. Now, in Xi'an, the capital city of Shaanxi Province, homeowners out of their own safety have posted videos and photos online to appeal to the public and beg for help. They are facing great difficulties in defending their rights because the building they bought from Vanke is horribly tilted, and they are fighting against Vanke. From a distance, this building clearly looks tilted, but it has only been a year since its delivery. Homeowners have found that the basement is leaking, and the walls are cracked. The foundation is sinking, and the walls have many cracks. In this building, some people have moved in. Most homeowners have taken possession but haven't yet moved in. When homeowners found out the problem, they sent out representatives to talk with Vanke. Vanke ignored them at first. Later, it secretly sealed off the building's underground garage and storage space, covering it up tightly. Subsequently, Vanke chose a government-approved third-party organization to conduct an inspection of the building and promised to release the report. However, the homeowners discovered that the blockade at the entrance to the basement was removed and replaced by security guards. They wouldn't allow anyone to go in and inspect the building. The homeowners suspected that the developer was secretly repairing the building. Finally, with the help of the police, they entered the underground garage and were shocked by what they saw. Without evacuating the homeowners inside the building, Vanke quietly started repair work to fix the building. The homeowners saw a pit 3 meters deep dug under the basement. There was a jackhammer, a mixer, a grouting machine, and other equipment and materials lying around. The developer insisted that it wasn't repairing the building, but carrying out an on-site inspection. Later, Vanke issued a filing of the inspection report before the so-called inspection was even finished. It claimed that the last unfinished inspection item wouldn't affect the overall inspection result. What's even more ridiculous is that the Xi'an municipal government set up a platform and invited Vanke and homeowners to discuss and find a solution for the matter. The representative of Vanke said the tilting was caused by heavy rain in September this year. Honestly, it sounded absurd that heavy rain brought about the tilting of a residential building. Homeowners reported when they talked to the workers in the basement, it was revealed that in the building design, the drawing was problematic, and the building's drainage wasn't up to standard. Even the inspection report issued by a so-called third-party expert who hasn't yet completed the inspection is full of loopholes. The report says the condition of the building is grade B, which has no safety concerns. This is after the building has been privately repaired by Vanke, but the recommendation given is to reinforce the building. According to China's building codes, only problematic grade C buildings require reinforcement. And this isn't the first time in Xi'an that a Vanke-built property has experienced subsidence. In October 2018, to the north of this high-rise residential building of Vanke, a large pit appeared at a construction site with a depth of about 10 meters, and an entire section of the fence wall and greenbelt collapsed. The collapsed area was less than 2 meters away from the entrance to the residential building. The length of the collapsed section was estimated to be about 100 meters. When local media reported the incident, Vanke responded by saying that after verification, the report was false, and that what actually happened was a partial collapse of a foundation pit at the construction site of another company, which had impacted Vanke's building. As of November 13, 2023, when searching the Chinese web, virtually no information can be found about this incident that concerns tilting and subsidence of Vanke's development in Xi'an. Only 1 or 2 of the headlines that don't contain the term Vanke still exist. Similarly, text information has completely disappeared. Perhaps the incident is too sensitive at this time, as Vanke, the poster child of China's real estate industry, is facing an existential crisis. Not long ago, Vanke stocks plummeted almost half compared to the beginning of 2023. Since October, the price of its overseas US dollar-denominated bonds has dropped as well, with the yields of many of them rising to around 50%, and the highest being close to 60%. As bond yields are inversely proportional to bond prices, bondholders were selling their bonds at low prices. It triggered speculation that Vanke was about to crash, resulting in a sharp drop in Vanke stock and bond prices. In fact, Vanke has a special background. The large state-owned enterprise Shenzhen Metro Group, which is directly managed by China's Shenzhen SASAC, or State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission of the State Council, has become the largest shareholder of Vanke since 2017. It currently holds 27.18% of Vanke's total shares. On November 6, 2023, Vanke held an online meeting to exchange information on its business situation as well as the recent matters of bonds in the secondary market and the abnormal drop in share price. More than 150 domestic and foreign financial institutions and the largest shareholder Shenzhen Metro Group were at the meeting. An official from Shenzhen SASAC Shenzhen attended as well. At the meeting, Shenzhen SASAC said that Vanke had sufficient security and was an important member of Shenzhen's state-owned asset system. If necessary or if there were extreme situations, it would help Vanke cope by all means. With Shenzhen SASAC touting for Vanke at the time of survival, the risk of a crash was perceived to have greatly reduced, and the market panic was temporarily eased. On November 9, 2023, Vanke announced that it would repay its debt as scheduled. The company would fully redeem the 200,000 KEO7 corporate bonds on November 13, 2023, with the remaining principal of approximately US $52 million and accrued interest of approximately US $1.829 million. Some market participants analyzed the actions of Shenzhen SASAC as a signal that the Beijing government wanted to save the remaining relatively healthy real estate companies and didn't want foreign investors to worry about the risk of Vanke's crash. As of the end of June 2023, there were only about a dozen so-called healthy real estate companies in China that hadn't violated the financial policy of the three red lines. Clearly, even if a new policy comes out to support the so-called healthy real estate enterprises, it could only benefit a dozen or so enterprises at most. The overall impact on real estate would be limited. In the long run, China's entire economy is now in decline, and it's hard for major shareholders of state-owned enterprises to know what the future holds. Shenzhen SASAC stepped in this time because it wanted to be aligned with Xi Jinping's financial policy and present him with a gift. And it's also because Vanke's assets are greater than its liabilities. The gesture of Shenzhen SASAC can to some extent stabilize the market and alleviate the risk of Vanke being shorted. But it's crucial that people continue to buy homes. If a large number of homes remain unsold, Vanke could still crash and burn. The Chinese media in their coverage of Vanke are still highlighting the fact that Vanke doesn't have unfinished or rotten-tailed buildings. Even so, when cash flow is extremely tight, there is no guarantee for the quality of the buildings. Of course, Vanke is still the poster child for China's real estate industry because other real estate companies have just as many, if not more, similar problems and incidents. For example, in May 2023, we reported on a serious subsidence of a residential building in Tianjin. At around 6 p.m. on May 31st, streets in this residential area suddenly rose and cracked. In addition to the sidewalk, cracks also appeared in the lawn. The streets in the area are now wavy. Some cracks in the ground next to these buildings are several dozen centimeters wide. Some underground parking lots have cracks in the walls and water seepage. This community is in Tianjin, a metropolitan city in China, a neighbor of the capital Beijing, and a port city. The developer of the complex is the well-known Chinese real estate company Country Garden, one of the top 4 real estate companies in China. The incident involved more than 10 residential towers, all of which had cracked and sunk ground around them. When it happened on the night of May 31st, residents were so scared they chose to sleep outdoors, on the lawn, or in the streets. In less than 24 hours, the cracks in the ground got bigger, as did the cracks on the walls. The elevator began to have an electrical leak, and some residents evacuated overnight with their families. Some Chinese even think that all the buildings in China are built by the same process and that people shouldn't make a big deal out of it. Check out what this video has to say about the sinking buildings in China. You see, this is a construction site. What's over there? It's earth, a whole layer of padded earth. This is the surface of the underground garage. Now the developer is making it waterproof. Afterwards, the whole thing will be covered with earth. That is to say, the earth excavated from this big pit at the beginning of digging the foundation. Where does it go now? It's filled there where the black area is. It's the layer with the waterproofing mark. That is the spot. There is about 1.5-meter layer of filling, and it's all earth. After the filling, landscaping will be done. After landscaping is done, trees are planted and so on. Then, when it rains, the earth will subside for sure. Then the foundation breaks downward. That's why, when it rains, the newly delivered building will have cracks on the side. There is a layer of waterproofing in this area. After the cement is plastered on, it will crack when the earth underneath settles. Therefore, we need to have an understanding of this situation. If the building cracks or settles, there will be large cracks on the side or at one of the connected parts. Then it means that the whole floor is sinking and that something is wrong. If it is simply cracks on the side, like what happened here, then it's normal. That layer of earth you see, 1.5 meters deep of earth, after it's filled, it will definitely settle down somewhat. If that's the case, you have to understand that it's normal, so I'm explaining the basics to you. Chinese people have a tough time when it comes to their homes. They've exhausted their efforts, but there's no telling what might happen. Look, this is the city of Nanjing. In October, the river gushed into the basement of this residential building. Two things happened to the homeowners here. First, the riverbank near this subdivision collapsed. Secondly, one of the homeowners who purchased a first-floor home adjacent to the landscape riverside trail had been quietly digging a basement. The excavated ground as well as the destruction of the building's basement facade caused leaking of underground water mixed with river water into the underground parking lot. Fortunately, no one was hurt. This is a minor incident in China. Let's look at something serious. A gymnasium in Jiamusi City, Heilongjiang Province in northeast China collapsed on the night of November 6th. The news hit Baidu's hot news list on November 7th. At about 7:40 p.m. on November 6th, the gym partially collapsed. Under the collapsed part were basketball courts. 7 people were inside at the time, of which 3 people were out of danger, 1 injured, and 3 trapped. Chinese media reported that at 12:35 a.m. on the 7th, the rescue was over, and the 3 trapped were dead. The venue where the accident occurred belongs to a fitness club. The gym is a 2-story frame structure with a floor area of about 2,000 square meters, and under the collapsed part was the basketball zone on the 2nd floor in the west side, with a collapsed area of about 500 square meters. After the accident, netizens questioned whether this was another tragic accident caused by Tofu-dreg construction. A netizen wrote, "It seems the whole roof fell down. You can't see a bit of reinforcing steel. It wouldn't fall like that as a whole piece if there were just a bit of reinforcing steel." Less than 100 days ago, the capital city of this province had a high school gymnasium collapse. Officials said 11 teachers and students lost their lives. The entire roof fell, burying everyone in the gym. The number 34 middle school is one of the better schools in the city. It has 2 campuses, the old one being where the accident occurred. At the time of the accident, the school was on summer break, and only the school's girl volleyball team was training in the gym. 6 students escaped the accident because they were in another city for a tournament. Parents said the accident happened at about 3 p.m. on July 23rd. The students were taken to the hospital at about 5 p.m. From the time of the accident until midnight on July 24th, more than 6 hours passed, and some girls showed no vital signs, but no one had notified the parents. Now, the propaganda staff of this county claimed that the roof collapse was due to the snowfall. The public is seriously questioning the claim. There is even more solid evidence from suspected industry insiders. Based on full-view photos of the steel frame of the Jiamuxi gym, they claim that there were no external restraint of any kind, i.e. no steel ties over the full length of the beams and at locations of the supports. Relying only on the small steel bars at the top of the beams, which have relatively little strength and bend under pressure, these would not have been able to prevent the beams from distorting and thus losing stability. Naturally, this doesn't stop the local government and media from continuing to use heavy snow as an excuse to explain the collapse of the gym. Jiamuxi Municipal Government held a citywide work conference on production safety. It requires that all large-span concrete structures, steel structures, mesh structures, and other buildings that are in use or changed for the use be stopped immediately, and can only be used after being approved by the Building Safety Appraisal Agency. It also calls for organizing forces to immediately remove snow from roofs, and timely removal of snow from roofs, snow lumps and ice, and provide advance warning of locations prone to freezing and sliding. A number of local governments in this province have deployed specialized teams to remove snow from roofs. In order to prevent collapses of residential and public buildings, a vigorous campaign to remove snow from roofs has begun. Such a reaction is better than nothing, as China's Tofu-dreg projects have become prevalent and worldwide known. What is the extent of fake works in this province? Even some of its greenery is fake. On the other hand, the frequency of extreme weather is on the rise in China. On November 3rd, the China Meteorological Administration (CMA) predicted that the weather in northern China would turn colder in a short period of time, and in some places there could even be a sudden drop in temperature of up to 20 degrees Celsius in 2 days. One of the most dramatic changes would be in the northeast, where intense blizzards and heavy snowstorms were expected. It seems the Chinese government tends to contribute the failures of public and residential buildings to natural weather, such as rain and snow can cause collapse. Thus, all we can say is, Chinese buildings are simply too fragile. Combined with the complex backgrounds and stories behind each case of building subsidence, tilting, and collapse, we can honestly say that this seemingly glamorous building of Red China is also on the brink of collapse.